G'day, how's it going? It's your boy FailBait coming at you with Shadowverse 101, an analysis on the Shadowverse Open North American qualifier between CPV Fantasy and Disc Crumsian, and determining on how we should approach a board or face situation, primarily resource management. So when pushing for game, the most important question to ask is, how can I lose from here? Despite having the stronger cards and keywords, for example Storm or Ward, a clear factor to consider is who has lethal and how will they get it. Crumsian is facing 4 minions with a total damage of 12, while his defense is at 11. While the Ward keyword is enough to prevent immediate face damage, Crumsian, and by extension all players, need to take into account the cards in hand, the cards previously used, and the cards left in the deck. While defense is the primary resource to look at in this situation, the secondary resource is the hand size. So we can already see that CPV is essentially top decking, while Crumsian has 5 cards in hand. And of those 5 cards, he has a few key options. And those options are the 2 jungle wardens. But despite them having Storm, their total damage equals 8, not enough to deal damage over that one turn, but it is enough over 2. In this instance, the value of depleting Fantasy of his resources is the stronger play. The reason for this is because Crumsian has the tools he needs to push for lethal and board control next turn, namely in the form of his second jungle warden. Compare this to CPV Fantasy, who does have lethal in that turn. However, while it may not look like it, Crumsian is actually rewarded for choosing the value play. He forced Fantasy into the awkward play of using his Halo Golem without its strong fanfare effect. Also, Fantasy was able to top deck Mutagenic Bolt, a 2-of in most decks that hadn't been played yet. Now, being aware of what threats remain in your opponent's deck is vital, even if the chances are slim. Playing under the assumption that your opponent always has what they need, or will always top deck what they need when they need it, is a safe precaution and can be rewarded, as Crumsian is here. With his strong wards removed and turned into rats, which both deal 1 damage at the start of the turn, Crumsian is once again under the threat of lethal, but having gained control of the board in his previous turn, Crumsian himself is in a much stronger position because he can continue to dominate the board. His top deck, which will provide him with full healing, only further consolidates his position as the winner of the game. In conclusion, late game becomes an algorithm of resources. Ask yourself, how do I lose from here? What threats are remaining in my opponent's deck? If you have lethal over 2 turns, but are facing lethal yourself over 1, even with wards and storms as your keywords, don't push. Gain control. There are very few punishments for playing a value game, but there are many consequences for playing greedily. When you have the control and assured lethal, that's when faith is the place. So this has been FailBait bringing you Shadowverse 101, an analysis into the Shadowverse Open between Fantasy and Crumsian, deciding whether to use your minions to trade for value and manage the board, or to push for lethal damage. Hopefully this has been of some help to you. Until next time, smoke responsibly.